I like, excuse me, I like the ban because there are two reasons why. It's really popular among people that I despise, i.e. influencers, which are worse than communists. And it's also a mass persuader. If you look at every bad idea that is plaguing America, racial division, gender hysteria, these stupid stunts kids do, it's direct. These things are directly injected into a generation of Americans with unformed brains.
Greg Gutfeld, Jesse Waters, and the other members of the Brain Trust at the Five weighed in on the House of Representatives voting overwhelmingly and in a bipartisan fashion to ban TikTok. Not surprisingly, their take on this was terrible. Let's hear what they have to say.
The time may be running out for TikTok. The House overwhelmingly voting to pass a bill that could lead to a TikTok ban if its current Chinese owner doesn't sell the company. The concern is that the current ownership structure is a national security threat, with communist China scooping up millions of Americans' data. Bipartisan lawmakers pushing back on accusations that the bill infringes on free speech, saying it's not an outright ban.
Our intention is for TikTok to continue to operate, but not under the control of the Chinese Communist Party.
And in that world, TikTok users can continue to use the platform. In fact, I think it would allow for a better user experience.
But the main thing, though, is we want TikTok to exist. We're not there to ban it. I've said we want to make it tic-tac-toe.
The bill does not violate the First Amendment. It focuses on conduct, not content.
Lawmakers opposing the bill, they say the opposite, calling it a Trojan horse, endangering the First Amendment.
This legislation to ban TikTok is actually a Trojan horse. Some of us are concerned that there are First Amendment implications here. Americans have the right to view information.
Americans have access to real images of the horrors that are experienced by Palestinians daily. We no longer have to rely on legacy media to get that information.
I don't like bans on speech, and I want to find ways, to better, restrict the use of data without, taking away a platform.
So that gives you an idea of what transpired and what some of the politicians had to say. Before we get into what the members of the Five, what their view on this was, there's two things that I want you to think about. One, again, this was overwhelmingly bipartisan. You had the vast majority of Democrats and Republicans in the House voting to ban TikTok. Anytime there is something this bipartisan and this nearly unanimous in voting, you are getting screwed. When both parties agree, it's bad for all of us as Americans. Number two, Fox News, the average age of a Fox News viewer is 68 years old. They don't care. 68-year-olds, people in their 60s, don't care about younger people. Fox News does not care about younger people. So they do not give two shits about TikTok. All right, let's continue with what they had to say. Here is Harold Ford.
I listened to a lot of people talk about this, and I think people who said we don't want to disadvantage people who make a living on TikTok. We don't want to disadvantage people who find communities of support on TikTok. I mean, I'm sure that being bribed by a foreign government is a good way to make a living.
Being bribed by a foreign government. So everybody on TikTok who makes their living on there is being bribed by a foreign government. How out of touch is this guy? So part of what's really interesting to me about this, you got Harold Ford here. You have all the members of Congress who voted in favor of this. How many of these are the people that are constantly squawking about freedom of speech? Oh, your freedom of speech is being taken away. Oh, your freedom of speech. Okay. Do they want to ban TikTok now? Oh, we're against cancel culture. We hate cancel culture is terrible. Let's cancel TikTok. That's what these people are doing. Let's hear what Jesse Waters has to say.
We have Twitter and Facebook. The government doesn't really have Twitter like they used to, so they only really can control Facebook. They can't get into Musk's back door like they can with Zuckerberg. So you have this other app over here, TikTok, and the federal government wants control of it. We want to have CIA guys working inside that company. We want to be able to have the FBI call TikTok and say, hey, you better shut this down. Okay. We want to be able to collect the data, use the data, exploit the data, That's understandable, okay? Because as a user in America, you can either be spied on and mentally destroyed by the Chinese, or you could have election interference by your own government here. And that's what this is about. This is about wresting control of this powerful app from the Chinese to the Americans. And do I trust my government more than the Chinese government? Of course. Do I think our government is going to use the access and the information from TikTok for great purposes, especially Democrats that have nasty ideas about election interference? I doubt that. But that's what's going on.
Okay, I hadn't thought of it that way.
So it doesn't have none of this with TikTok has anything to do with election interference. As we heard early in the video, TikTok is, young people are getting their news from TikTok. That scares the powers that be because they are seeing what's happening in war zones. They're seeing what's really happening to people, not what the media wants you to see, not what the media narrative is, not what the government's narrative is. So they want to be able to control TikTok because they don't want people, young people who use the apps to get information. They already have the older people. The older people are brainwashed. They're watching Fox News and the other 24-hour networks. They're a lost cause. But younger people are getting real information. Yeah, sometimes they're getting misinformation from TikTok, but it's not, there isn't the sanitization. It's not sanitized media the way the 24-hour networks are that have a narrative. Fox News has a narrative that they want you to believe. CNN and MSNBC have a narrative that they want you to believe. TikTok, you can just go on and somebody in a country where they're being bombed or whatever can share the video of what's happening to them and show you the reality of it without going through the lens of our government. That's what this is all about. They want TikTok out of the way because young people are getting real information there. Let's hear what so-called comedian Greg Gutfeld has to say. I'm sure it will be hilarious.
What do you think, Greg?
Well, I like, I like the ban because there are two reasons why. It's really popular among people that I despise, i.e. influencers, which are worse than communists. And it's also a mass persuader. If you look at every bad idea that is plaguing America, racial division, gender hysteria, these stupid stunts kids do, it's direct. These things are directly injected into a generation of Americans with unformed brains. So we do need to sever the connection between TikTok and the communists. It's not about ownership, it's about control, right? It's like owning TikTok is meaningless if the Chinese are in charge, because there are people that own TikTok now that aren't Chinese. So Jesse mentioned it yesterday that TikTok picks up everything, and that includes keystrokes, right? From devices when it's not TikTok. It's almost as if to use it safely, you have to be in a separate room that's completely walled off and you have to wear a hazmat suit. It really is like COVID. It's like social media COVID. But I don't think this ban is real, which is why everybody voted for it. It's like when everybody voted for William Hung for American Idol.
And so then he goes on to give this moronic comparison to American Idol. The guy is an idiot. Again, these people are out of touch. They're speaking to people in their 60s and 70s who don't even know what TikTok is or how to use it. So those people don't care. They're catering to their audience. All right, so we've heard what Jesse Waters, Greg Gutfeld, Howard Ford, and the Five have had to say about this banning of TikTok or divesting of TikTok, whatever you want to say about it. Are they right? Do you agree with Greg Gutfeld? Do you agree with Jesse Waters? Do you agree with the hosts of the Five? Are they right or wrong? Are you a fan of the Five? Do you like Jesse Waters? Do you like Greg Gutfeld? Or do you think they're idiots like I do? Let me know in the comments. Give us a like and a follow, and I'll see you in the next one.